in our lives, what has happened somehow is that God has become like a feel-good fallback option and not the most important priority. It's like saying, I want to live without life itself. Because life is nothing but an aspect of God. The Saguna aspect of God is life, is consciousness. Okay. So when we say, I don't believe in God, for example, although belief is not what I'm asking for, but when you say, I don't believe in God, for example, but you wouldn't say, I don't believe in life. So what is that life? Whose is that life? When that life came to life, suppose it came to life in your mother's womb, when that life came to life, did it have a name? Did it have this form? No. Every cell of this body is now different from the one that was born. But life has been a constant. This presence of life has been a constant. And an exploration into that, a meeting of that, this is not really a matter of choice. You see? Like Bhagavan has said very clearly that there is avidya and there is vidya. No? Avidya is ignorance and vidya is reality or truth. True jnana. So there are so many things to keep ourselves engaged with in this manifestation. So many things which can get our attention. We can build identities around. You know? It seems like that is the real game. But the question really is, what is beyond death? Whatever age we've lived to up to this point, like the age of this body is 48. It doesn't seem like 48 years. I don't know if it's the same for all of you, but it just feels like a dream. It just feels like, so in the same way, the remaining 10, 20, 30, whatever God's will has decided to be in this expression, will also pass like a dream. Then what are we going to carry with us? What are we going to take with us? What is the life we've lived? Can we live a life without the discovery of the source of life itself? Whose presence? Whose presence is this? Whose aliveness are we living on? Who's aware of this entire play? So when I provoke, it is to bring these questions to the fore, because otherwise I know what you'll be wasting time with. If I don't bring these questions to the fore, you'll be thinking about some relationship, some money thing, something, you see, which anyway has been promised to the seekers of God that it'll all be taken care of. Isn't it? Not according to what we expect, but according to what we need. So all that is already taken care of. You would want to spend, the mind wants us to spend more time on that. Rather than really use the potential to contemplate use the potential to inquire, use the capacity to meet God to its fullest extent. Use the capacity to love God, to be in service to God to its fullest extent. As quickly as this time has passed, 12 years I've been sharing Satsang. Another 12 will go like that. Soon I'll be giving my last Satsang on a deathbed somewhere. It's all over. And soon doesn't mean tomorrow before Jyotima fires me. Soon could be 20 years. But when those years have passed, will it seem like, oh, 20 years? No, it'll seem like a dream, like this. So, then what? Again, another trip on the merry-go-round? Then what? Another trip on the merry-go-round? What if we've been on this trip a million times before? Suppose, like Lakshmana in the story in the Yoga Vasisht, the Guru has told us to get off our high horse a million times, but we have not listened. Or suppose that this is the first. Even if it is the first, how many lives do you want to waste? Living like we are food, no? And to take myself to be the body is what? Body is just a fancy word for what? Suppose we didn't have the word body, then what would we say? Some flesh, some bones, some blood, all this stuff. That doesn't sound that attractive anymore, does it? The Buddhists actually use this. Especially as a counter for lust, they use it and they say, okay, don't think of that one as a man or woman. What is it actually? And then if you really want to look, then just imagine it without a layer of skin. That's a strong antidote to lust. So in some way, this bodily skin is like our mental constructs. It just hides us from seeing what is true. So we live in denial of that which is most important. And we live a life as if that which is non-existent, the ego, is central to life. We meet a mosquito in the movie which appears for a millisecond into its central protagonist. You see, even God is for me. God is helpful, useful, worth praying to, worth our obedience, allegiance, all of these things because He helps me. And what does that mean? Where is that mean? And you talk to people on the street, which I'm going to start soon, but like, but who's got the time for this? I have to get to work. I have important things to do. Usse kya milega? What will I get if I ask myself, who am I? What will I get? You have the potential to start living a true life. You see? But that has nothing to do with the game called Leela, no? In which we are this character and the parameters of the game have been defined for us. Relationship, money, health of the body, and the search for meaning. Keep judging yourself based on improvement on these 4 parameters. You're doing well. But what if someone came and told you that this game is just like Fortnite or something? What do you kids play? Call of Duty or something? It's one of those games. It has nothing to do with reality. And the sages have gone hoarse telling us, no? Leela, Maya, they've called it all these names. Mahathagni, Kabirji called her Maya, he called her Mahathagni, biggest con artist. Still, is not enough for us. How many feel like Kabir could be lying? So he said Maya is a Mahathagni, which is that this world appearance is an illusory con artist. He's lying. So if he's not lying, now the way I asked, obviously all of you will not say. But do we live like that? And you could live like that. You could say, but I have no option because I don't know better. Thank you, my dear. You could say, I don't know any better. I have not seen anything but this. That would be a valid excuse. But anyone who's been to satsang for any period of time, you do know better. You have met better. You've at least had a glimpse of reality. That's why I'm saying I'm not asking for your belief. But are you going to spend all of your time, all of your life with a con artist? Or just tell me that we feel Kabir was lying. I use the big guns because I know they get much more respect than the ones who presently speak to you. It's normal human nature. So it's possible that Ananta could be lying. Maybe he's deluded, he's something. But Kabir? Kabir. So those it's good for me to get the reinforcements like that. So if Maya is fake, then what is real? To really provoke you all to not give value to that which is ephemeral. Can you believe something that you don't value? That which we call interest is just a function of how much value we've given something. Like if somebody came and told you, that cloud is cumulus and this cloud is accumulus. If your mind came and said that, you say, get out of here. There's no value. But if somebody came and told you, the quickest way to check the nature of awareness, the nature of being conscious, the nature of this world, batao. So that is value. But another one who's studying clouds, somebody comes and says, the mind comes and says, what is the nature of awareness, consciousness? Get out. So that is value. Yes. So that value, what we value, then that becomes like the theme, and we become fertile for belief around that topic. You see, so if you value enlightenment or spirituality, so that is the theme that you value. And then when thoughts are around that particular thing, then it grabs you. So most will tell you that this world is Maya, especially if you come to Vedanta. They'll tell you that this world is Maya, and that's it. Understand that this is Maya, it is unreal. But here, you're being pointed very directly in terms of what is then real. What is then real is not being kept aside and said, "Nee, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet." You are ready. If you're alive, you're ready. Because life is there, and life is consciousness. All it takes is a sliver of openness. Are you willing to let go of what you know? I said sliver, but then I've taken the whole house, I know. Is there a sliver of openness towards letting go of everything that you know? Freedom from the known. Where does it leave you? Does it leave you lost? Because that's what the mind tells you. You need to rely on this stuff. Because if you don't know anything at all, where are you now? Are you lost? Not lost. See? And we chase that even as a momentary experience. When we go on holidays and sightseeing and things, we are chasing the freedom from knowing. So we are not lost, we are found, which implies that we are coming to a truer knowing. Going from conceptual knowledge to self-knowledge. Going from ignorance, avidya, to Atma-Gyan. Atma-Vidya, Atma-Gyan, Atma-Darshan, all the same thing. The knowledge of God's presence, the knowledge of the Atma is not distinct from the darshan of it, from the meeting with it. How many have you met? How many of you have met this presence, this light? How many of you are saying with faith and not belief? How many of you can tell me the difference between faith and belief? So faith is to rely on what you actually know, what you really truly know. And what are we calling that? What is the way to really truly know? You just know. You just know it, which means that it is not perception. It is not reliant on what perception is available to you, and it is not conceptual, because you know that conceptual knowledge, once put under some strain, it usually just runs away. You see? And that's why when life slaps around, even the greatest people who have a lot of conceptual knowledge, they suffer. They're not beyond that suffering because that knowledge leaves them. So there is a greater knowledge, which, because I say that because to just know doesn't sound fancy, we call it intuitive insight. We know it intuitively. So faith is to rely on this intuitive insight, and belief is to rely on just a concept. So I'm not giving you a concept of God's presence, God's light. I'm trying to prod insight so that then your faith can rely on the reality of Atma-Gyan, the reality of self-knowledge. So, but for a moment, let's presume that I'm buying everybody's answer, which is, yes, we have. So, can you tell me who is aware of that presence? Who is aware of that presence? Awareness itself is aware, but what does that have to do with us? There's a trick in that, no? Like awareness is aware. So I used to tell Jyotima this, तो फिर मैनू की ना, that those who are not Punjabi, then I mean, awareness is aware, then what is it to me? So a dichotomy gets created in that. When we say awareness is aware, that, you see, there's a trouble with the word that sometimes, that is aware. That. But who is aware that that is aware? You see, when it is asked who is aware that awareness is aware, you cannot avoid meeting it as your own self. Otherwise, the mind can still come in at that point and say, awareness, nothing is happening to awareness. You see? It remains untouched, unmoved. Then I've had many inquiries like this, where we realized awareness is untouched by any of this play. And then at the end, in one way or the other, the questioner asked me, yes, that's about awareness, but now what about me? Yes, I see nothing happens to awareness. But the but question will not say, but what about me? It will say, but what do I? You see, so it's like all that is fine. It is not born, it doesn't die, it doesn't come, it doesn't go. Nothing happens to it. It's untouched. If this whole universe was to be set on fire, it is untouched. But what about you? So who is aware of this awareness? What gives you the capacity to report about awareness? Are you just making it up? You know it, no? But that knowing is again neither perceptual nor conceptual. That knowing is direct, intuitive insight. So this is the nature of reality. Now, if you look at all cultures, all traditions, all of them have come to this insight, but they use different terminology. You see, so you must not let terminology, even within Advaita Vedanta, people use different terminology. Sometimes even between Bhagwan and Maharaj, they've used different terminology, which when I was reading, then it can be a bit confusing. And in books like I Am That, which are very, very beautiful and strong, there are many times you can tell that the translator itself got confused. Like they've said consciousness when they should have said awareness, they've said awareness when they should have got consciousness. And maybe they felt who's going to come to know anyway. Reading all of this, like let's use it interchangeably, like who's ever going to come to that point anyway. So it can happen like that as well. Yeah. So it's tough to follow when we just read a book, because sometimes we say like that, sometimes we say noumenon, phenomenon, manifest, unmanifest, nirguna, saguna, all these terms can come.
It's funny that something that's so close, yet it's there, but it's not there kind of.
This is Maya, no? You see, to make that which is not there seem like it is there, and that which is just only that is there seem like it is not there, is Maya. You see, it's the whole design of this play. You see, so many times what happens, I say, what are you? I am awareness. Anything happening to you? Nothing at all. Then you say, but it seems like I am upset about something, or I'm whatever position you decide to take. So what is that seems like? You'll say what? Feels like, seems like, some of this stuff, right? So what is that? So Maya is the great seeming. Guruji said, Maya is the great seeming. Same as saying Mahathagni. That which seems like, but isn't actually. And this whole play is designed to seem like, but isn't actually. The whole, who was talking about rope and serpent? Yes. So just like that. Seems like serpent, but is actually a rope. So don't fall for it seems like, it feels like. What is it actually? Or tell me then, but how can I check on what is its actuality? And first I will tell you how not to do it.
Maya is creator of Maya is mind.
Huh?
Creator of Maya.
No, my mind is the narrator, no? Like the game came on. Okay, my son used to love this game called Fortnite. No? What would happen in Fortnite? Anybody plays it? So what would happen in Fortnite is that this character would show up on the screen and he's carrying a gun, you know, and then you're assigned a mission that you are this, your mission is this. Now you just show up there and there's no mission assigned to you. It's not relatable, no? You see, even in many movies you have the narrator in the beginning explaining the whole construct to you. This is the story, there is a king, there is a queen, the main protagonist is a prince who's fallen in love with his girl, who's, you know, all the story, and then the scene starts. And then, in our case, the subtitler mind keeps providing the subtitle for this movie constantly. This is what's happening right now. It's happening to you right now. You see? You're hearing this, but your subtitle is saying, yes, father said like that. Yes, father, when I some story is going on in parallel track. No? You see? So often I used to say like that. I don't know if any of you remember this. When Nelson Mandela passed away, then they invited a interpreter, no? A sign language person to interpret the speeches of all these famous people. They were making speeches, all these presidents and all of them were making speeches. But this sign language person was a fraud. He was a con artist. Speaking of con artists, he was a con artist. So Obama is making a speech, but this man is going. And everyone's like, some people are obviously getting deeply offended, like, what is happening here? No? So this is what's happening to us. Yeah? That's why I keep asking you, what is this?
So you're saying for same Maya, because the narrators are different.
Same, yeah.
So then minds are different.
Huh?
Maya is same, but different minds are
No. The mind is part of an aspect of Maya. Like the narrator is part of the game. No? Like the narrator is part of the movie, is part of the game. That aspect, you see, because just to storify, suppose God was bored. The whole point of Leela is what? It's supposed to be Chitta Vilasa, no? The entertainment of the Lord. So he was bored, so he said, okay, I'm going to create some Leela so that I can feel like there are many of me or there are many of us, and then I have some things to entertain myself with. So then the game must come on. And without the narrative, it's pure perception. What's that? I'm still that. I'm aware, I'm witnessing everything. I remain untouched. Even if on the screen all this has come, so what? Yeah. So then he must have felt like for this entertainment to have some bite. You see, I need to provide that narrative. You see, and that narrative has to be compelling. So the movie becomes relatable. You see? So then you feel like, I am this. I am this. So when a baby is born, they are not feeling like they are this. Actually, it's feeling like a satsang from many years back, actually. So, like when my son was born, we were trying to tell him, no, this is your head, this is your nose, you teach children all of this. But many times we would say, Kabu, where is your head? So he would point to our head. He would point, I don't know whether any of you went through this. He would point to our head instead of his, because the notion of my and your was not there within yet. So we drilled it into him. No, your. So we have to do that so that one day we come to satsang and be free from all of that. And that's another whole story, but we'll come to that. So without the narrative, without the narrator, There's no identification, so-called relatability is not there. So the movie lacks its juice, it lacks its punch. So it's like going, I don't know if any of you, I love these indie movies, but if you go for this sort of art house cinema and you don't like it, you go over there and you're just like, what did I just watch? What just happened? It just got over like that. Yeah, so it happened like that. So like, what are you really saying? You're saying that I couldn't relate with it at all. And that's why it was not fun. So the mind makes everything about me and therefore relatable to me, about me. This is what this means for me. Even if something is happening in a far off country, the mind will say, see what's happening in the world. And this world is only interesting to you because you feel like you are an inhabitant of this world, no, my world. So this is the storification from the mind, which is the most potent tool in this Leela, in this Maya, to make it seem as if it is reality. To give it the con artist capability without the mind would not be possible. Try it. Let the narrative just go. Don't bother with it.
There's a momentum, right? And all these years of it, I feel it's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So you can't just stop suddenly.
Yeah.
You carry on at its own pace.
Yes.
I'm not giving it more fuel.
Yes.
But that's the best I can do, right?
Yes. It's like Bhagwan says, you put the fan off. Yeah. It still goes for some time, and then it stops. Okay. But the mind can go. You don't have to wait. Your freedom is not manonasha. If manonasha happens, well and good. But your freedom doesn't have to wait for manonasha.
What is manonasha?
Manonasha means a dissolution of the mind. Like there's complete silence. So you don't have to wait for that. You can just be in the unborn, in the no mind. It doesn't mean the no mind is not the absence of thought. It is just the absence of belief in thought. Not serving it tea is to remain in the unborn. That is why, in one way or the other, at least in our form of satsang, it is always going to be, that aspect is always going to be central, isn't it? So when Bhagwan says the only choice you have is to not get into the stream of your thoughts and just let it go, and one day you will realize that even that was grace. He said, but he's saying as long as it feels like a choice, you must make the choice. And Papaji says, keep quiet. Keep quiet. He's not talking about an outer quiet. He's again talking about the absence of egoic belief. When Guruji says, don't identify. When I say, oh, remain open and empty, or don't believe your next thought, all of us are saying fundamentally the same thing. Same thing. Then the Zen master said, thoughts are visitors, let them come and let them go, don't serve them tea. They're saying the same thing. So, shall we do a practical exercise on why this emphasis on this across all of us? Now, empty, 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 all of us empty. Even if there are thoughts fluttering, let's okay. Don't try to be without thoughts, let them come and let them go. You remain empty, not holding on to anything. In this pure perception, is there a witnessing of something beyond perception? Are you aware of that which is beyond perception without any effort? See that? If all of you are speaking the truth, then it is like the quickest way to get to the absolute. That pure witnessing, which people are trying to grasp, but it's ungraspable, just by dropping it all, in a moment, you say, no, these perceptions are in front of me. I am not touched by them. They come and go in front of me. And please include the body, sensations, everything that you perceive. So don't have this idea that you're sitting somewhere inside the body. No, put all the sensations, perceptions that you're calling the body also in the realm of perceptions. This is clear? This is the absolute reality, the nominal, as Maharaj would say, the Nirguna Brahman. As simple as that. So you have this insight, whether you like it or not, your mind will comment out in a moment. Don't let me quickly say what I want you to do. Now, hold on to any thought and try to keep that insight alive. Grab the next thought that comes your way with your belief and remain in this insight. You cannot do it. You can try, you can just be like, lightly, but it doesn't happen. It's like cyanide, it's just like the instant you go to it, finish. You've taken yourself to be limited, you've taken yourself to be contracted. And you've jumped over Nirguna, Saguna, all this stuff, being, and taken yourself to be a non-existent body-mind entity. Some weird concoction of which is body and mind in some way, it's some entity. You've taken yourself to be that, which has no tangibility, no reality whatsoever. This is what we take ourselves to be. And when we take ourselves to be that, what happens? What are we then? Stuck between birth and death, uncertain future, affected by emotion, affected by events of the world, affected by all of this, chasing security, feeling guilty, feeling pride, feeling all of this rubbish. Because that one poison pawn or something, there's a chess player, or the fruit of the apple, the bite of the apple. So the one like that, the whole tree of conditioning seems to be there. You're nobody, empty, nobody, you're nobody. Like somebodyness is too tiny for you. You are just a pure witnessing. So simply apparent. No, if it's not simple, then deepen in that. But the instant you grasp, and it's not possible to do just with your attention. Like try to do it with your attention, be empty and just attention. Nothing happens, nothing changes. You have not taken yourself to be limited. You see? But the minute you buy, like you cannot believe an object, like believe this. You can only give it attention. You see? So belief is possible only for a notion, a concept. The instant you buy that notion, what happens? Literally. You can feel like that. Nobody, no entity ever takes birth like that. But it feels like you are surrounded by these sensations. Instead of you being the container for the entire universe, you now take yourself to be surrounded by these bodily sensations. You feel like you're an object sitting within all of this, and you have to manage your life as a bundle of flesh.
So for the consciousness is believing
Yes.
that time. Unconsciousness is not believing that. Huh? So consciousness can move between belief and...
Exactly. Because in awareness, awareness is all there is. So within awareness, there is itself I awareness have the option to play as I am. It is I only. But when I play as I am, you see, it can seem to have all of this. That's called saguna, manifest. The manifest Brahman comes with this play. So consciousness does all of this. So only consciousness is there, no? Like if you were to ask this question and say, okay, what is option 2? Who else could be believing or not believing? No one else ever took birth. So the only one that is the only one that can say, give it assent to a notion and say, yes, it is true. Or let it go. Or to judge it and say, no, it is not true.
Can I complete?
Yeah.
Sorry to be very basic again, but so consciousness, if believes Maya, it goes in the small body mind. The other option is consciousness.
Takes itself to be. It doesn't go in there. Like there's no way for it to go. Like you can't put like spirit into the glass and you can put some other type of spirits, but not the true spirit.
So consciousness start believing Maya. Right? And second option is consciousness doesn't believe Maya. That's it. It's not that consciousness believes awareness.
Who does the power of attention, belief, identification, all these belong to? These are the primal powers of being, beingness.
You asked the question, like, have you realized God's presence within you? Once I remember you telling Mother that the presence is like the doorway to the infinite.
Yes.
So, like, what do you mean by this? Have you realized?
It's a two-way portal. The I amness. There's a sense of being. Now, with the sense of being comes the waking state. Whether we call it dream or waking, same thing. So this waking state comes, in which all this drama begins of light and sound, and this body seems to be the central protagonist of this game. And we all take ourselves to be that. In that expression of consciousness, each takes itself to be that aspect, which is, according to them, the central protagonist, because there is a centrality of, like a visual perspective at least. Is it sounding too academic? No, I just feel like I'm at the center of this dream. I'm seeing everything through my body. You see, like I'm at the center, everything else is around me, and it gives this construct, this feeling of you being there somewhere inside this body, which is just not true. So in the play of I am, all this game starts on this side of attention. This side of attention brings us all this content. This side. Now, what is on the other side of attention? That is to try and go to the portal the other way. The I am, you see, which I is that? Is to try and go to the source of the I am itself. Is it? Which is that who is that I? Which I is that? And that answer is not computable, fathomable, cannot be inferred. You may think, yes, I know it is Brahman, it is the absolute, it is the self, but all those concepts don't help. It has to become a living recognition, a living insight.
Father, so the knowledge of who I am is a direct knowledge, like you say, right? It's intuitive. When I inquire into this basis of on basis on which I take myself to be this body mind, what is the basis actually? It's just a belief.
Exactly.
And there is nothing actually. Like,
there is no basis for such a ludicrous idea.
There is no basis.
There is no basis for such a ludicrous idea, just as much as, like, if you actually went to a doctor and said, "Oh, doctor, please help me.
Yeah.
I've started taking myself to be that character in that game."
Exactly. It's just a belief.
So the doctor will probably say, "You're here at the wrong kind of doctor." So,
I've been inquiring into this, Father, and it's like
there's
no
basis.
substance to this actually.
No basis.
We don't have to go. If you say it's my house and something happens,
Exactly.
I mean, you don't have to
That's
go to such a level.
Yeah.
Just so your own possession becomes you.
So what
The
happens?
minute, I
This
mean,
is a beautiful aspect, actually. I know it's not. We'll come to that also more directly. But what happens? Somewhere we have this niggling feeling that there has to be more to me than this. All of us have it, even those who are not at all religious or spiritual. Just this much I can't be. Just there has to be more to this. So then they find a way to try and accomplish that moreness. What is the way to do that? By calling things mine. This house is mine, this partner is mine, this wife is mine, this money is mine, this name is mine, this glory is mine, this statue is mine, this building is mine. We try to grow and grow and grow. But that niggling feeling never goes away. Like Guruji calls it the stomach of the insatiable one. It never goes away because no matter how much we stuff into that label mine, you see, firstly it's deeply unsatisfactory because in what way is it yours? On some piece of paper it may be written, this house belongs to this one. In what way is it mine? Like, what makes it mine? You see, there is no, that satisfaction is not there in any possession, in anything. It's just like a mental satisfaction that something certifies that this is. Actually, everything is only ever God's. But we play this game of mind. You know? First, this body itself, my body, where is it going? Back into the earth or in the fire? So what is the mind? Who's going to be left holding it? Not us. Every atom, every molecule will go back to God Himself. So that, 1 second, yeah. So this trying to get bigger in the outer way, in this wrong direction, is what most try to do. They try to become secure using it. They try to fulfill their life using it. All of these attempts are attempts to get that infinite absoluteness, but in the wrong direction. So we try and do that stuff.
Is there a way to be the world and still not be the world, meaning that you can play the game and still not be, affected by the ups and downs of it? So that's the way a game is supposed to be played, right? I mean, you don't hit a ball and they say, I want to hit 4 and 1 more. You enjoy whatever comes your way. So is there a way to be that way?
Who wants to be that way?
Me?
Which is?
The identity?
So you want to cater to that non-existent lie.
I get that.
Notice that. It's important to notice because right now it's giving you a very humble feeling idea that it's just a game, we'll play it nicely. Can we just be... Actually, when you're open and empty, that happens organically. But it's important to uproot that guy, that one, you see, because we're giving it too much value. Because this is being very humble right now and saying, I just want to play like a game, But tomorrow it'll say, I want. Or I'm sad that I don't have. So it's like Golem, okay? It's really like that. It can pose as if I'm like that. Don't get nightmares and visualization. I'm just saying that it's just grasping in that way, just something inside us wants that way. How can I win? In spite of knowing it's all false, I'll find a way to win in this. No. That one should not win. That one should be recognized as non-existent and transcended. You can't cater to the false and hoping to get to the truth. I got reminded of this metaphor yesterday. If you want tomatoes, how deeply into the ground will you dig? Can't find them that way, no? So if you dig, you will only get potatoes. If they're grown there, you will never get tomatoes. So if you want the truth, then how much to go into the false? Can't go into it. Okay? Because the false is a trickster. Remember, it's the master con artist. It will give you some very harmless. I just like that. It seems very like your best friend, and just once you buy into it, within a few minutes, sometimes any desire can start so very like humble and a good thing to do. Won't it be nice if I had this? Won't it be nice if I just did this? But then once it becomes an attachment, that's when the throat squeezing starts. So how to be free from that? To be free from that fully. So this is the insight part. This is before this part, we are just talking about the insight part. To remain like this is to remain in the unborn, to remain open and empty, to remain in the no mind. But you notice, brother in the Sangha put a beautiful message that you will not be able to remain as the self unless you love the self. Bhagavan said. That love is what I've been calling love and servitude, because just love is not bhakti. Nobody is really a bhakt of their life partner except in the first couple of weeks. Let's be honest. Isn't it? What is the difference? You still love them.
No servitude.
Huh?
No servitude.
No servitude. You don't want to serve them. Equals, hopefully, in the relationship. But that which is so lovable and we feel full of servitude to follow their will, God is worthy of that. So a combination of love and servitude is bhakti.
You said that the identity is a false construct, and this self, which is awareness, correct? So, how can a false love the real? I mean, that's something I do not understand. I mean, if you could.
Exactly. So the question is that if the person has no reality at all, then why is it? And we saw that I am just pure awareness. Then who should love God and who should be in service to Him? Who is that one? You recognize it or no? It's there, no? Look for the one who wants to grasp at the fact that I am awareness and therefore live like it is awareness. Is awareness doing that? Is it? So subtle. This is where, so this is like the baby just being delivered, no? So this is a very delicate time, very, very delicate time. This is where the activation of the spiritual ego can be the strongest. Who would not love it? I am just awareness. It is true, it is not false. But the one that is claiming it is not. So Bhagavan said that the one which felt like such a solid rope, then after awakening becomes like a burnt rope. He didn't say it vanishes. He didn't say there's no rope anymore. The burnt rope. But I've seen after 12 years of sharing that burnt rope still has one capacity. to try and resurrect itself. Is it? It wants to resurrect itself into the rope now by using the spiritual insights that it has. Is it? So it wants to create a new identity based on what it has learned from satsang itself, from your own insight itself. Is it? And we don't, many times we may not even realize what's happening to us, but we are becoming proud of what we think we know. And we start to think that we know better. But satsang is not about knowing better. It's not about knowing better. It is just about coming to the truth and loving and serving God. So that burnt rope must be made the servant of God. Otherwise, it will try to become the Ravan. So we must never presume that we are going to be the first known one in the history of humanity to be 100% enlightened. Is it? And if it was like that, then all the great teachers, Nanaji, Jesus, Hanuman, they would not have said, oh, just be in service to God, follow the will of God. That is your dharma. Even Krishna would not have told Arjun that you must do your dharma. What is dharma? The simplest explanation of dharma is that to follow God's will. Of course, there are books and books about it which are complicated. But the simplest, your dharma is what God is telling you to do. Can there be a higher dharma than that? So if Krishna is telling you to fight, you fight. Then your nonsense doesn't come in the way. No? Then your morality, which is just fear, garbed as morality, all that stuff should not get in the way because God is telling you to do something. So the one who feels like they know or are starting to know and then maybe now can guide people, can do all fancy stuff. Usually a lot of this thing happens very quickly after like we start to get some insight. After a while it starts to settle down because life has slapped us enough to keep us in check. But we've seen over the last 12 years how many who were starting to get some insight but then became proud and said, Father has given me everything that he could, now I have to do the rest on my own, all this kind of garbage comes because this one who doesn't even have like an inch of insight takes that to be like, oh wow, I'm so cool. Oh, I got it. And it usually starts by saying, but you said like that, Father, and then you said, but yeah, I know, but still, so somewhere the stink of wanting to be right comes to my nose, and maybe that's why that choppiness comes in, maybe that makes them want to run more, but can't help it. So that is very important, and it is so true here that I am still a beginner in terms of learning how to love God and serving God. And every day I feel like I'm getting worse. No, you start usually you start off as a beginner, then go to intermediate, then get better. Here in this journey, you start off as a beginner, and then like you're even more a beginner. I don't know if there's a term for that. No, you start as a rookie and then become what? Like I don't know. So I just feel like I'm just getting worse and worse at it. Is my life spent every moment in serving God, in loving God, in being in the true insight of God? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So with what mouth can I say I'm something special? In this way then, that Bhagwan's metaphor of the bird with two wings becomes very potent. Jnana and Bhakti are the two wings of our spiritual life. Cannot have one without the other. There is no great Jnani who's ever been born who has said, no, no, you are one with God, don't serve him, don't love him. Do you have any example of that? There is no. Everyone has said, head bowed down, follow the will of God, pray to him, be humble. Why? They should just say, but I've taught you your awareness. Just forget it. What is this God business? It doesn't go like that. Because when you see, you have an insight into reality, you're also blessed with a deep love and sense of devotion to God. And when you dive deeply into the love for God and devotion to God, you will get the insight. So both ways, on the Jnana thing, the more I'm realizing the depth of what I'm discovering, I'm more and more coming to awe of that. It doesn't ever become regular. And maybe that's a check that you can have for yourself. If you just like, yeah, awareness, just here I'm witnessing, school, bro. something there. Because maybe the mind has regularized it or normalized it, and you're referring to some memory or some image of a previous experience, but not diving into the liveness of this. If it doesn't leave you awestruck every moment, if the insight doesn't leave you awestruck every time, then it's good to come to Satsang. Right? So as far as insight goes, like I'm noticing that, wow, I can use a term. I can say God, I can say Ram, I can say Krishna, I can say Jesus, I can say Bhagwan. I can use a term. What a privilege this mouth has to be able to invoke God. That unfathomable reality. What a blessing it is that beyond these constructs of perception and human understanding, God has graced us with His presence, and that which is witnessing even that. So we must never forget the extent of the privilege this is. And even the human condition, this most obvious insight is hidden in plain sight for most of our brothers and sisters, who are literally living like they are slabs of meat. Is it? But the lawyer for this slab of meat wants to get access to this insight and make itself special. That is the Ravana problem. Because what Ravana was saying was not wrong, but it was wrong. Saying, why should I bow down? I am also God. Correct? All Advaita Vedanta books will confirm that. But not you. You are the one that has to be flicked away. Because if that burnt rope you, that one that has to be flicked away and kept in check in servitude to God, if that one starts ruling its way over you, you will say everyone else is a fool, your master is a fool, Ananta is helpful, along the way somewhere, but finally, all this kind of, you notice all this stuff for yourself, because it will come. After you have an awakening, there will come a voice which wants to attack the master himself. I could have done it a bit better, careful of that one. Because that one wants to, It's the same one that wants to own the universe. He wants to become the king of the world. It's only going towards death. This was never alive anyway. That's why all those with the Jnana temperament should not never neglect Bhakti. And those with the Bhakti temperament should not switch off in the Jnana part of the conversation. It's not easy because if it's not our temperament, it will seem difficult initially, the other aspect. But follow because you're hearing it from a credible source. A wise one is one who learns from the mistakes of others. And this one has made most of the mistakes possible in the human condition. So you can learn from his mistake. So, what is servitude? Servitude is to be humble, has to be faithful, has to be obedient to the will of God. And just because I don't want to create another category, let's include prayerful in this one itself. So let's say prayer is a part of servitude. The one who doesn't like servitude, the aspect within us, who doesn't like the word servant, who wants to be the king, not servant, that one must be kept in servitude. Is there, no? For all of us. Something rebels against that. It's like, but I just found I am that. Oh, Maharaj says, I just found I am that. Now you're saying, be in servitude, follow God's will. Yes, that one. That one, the protester. That's the quickest way to meet the one, no? Who needs to be kept in check. Yeah, subtle things, but I try to use metaphors to make them obvious. Because I wouldn't want an enemy to, not that I have enemies, but I wouldn't want, even if there was one, I wouldn't want even an enemy to live a life which was riddled with spiritual ego. The most horrible life, because just 1 millimeter away from reality, but you've taken it to be just the wrong way, and that side of the coin is just the opposite way to live. To live with pride and fear about image. What will people think of me? How am I projecting myself? And these are my disciples, and I am a guru. This kind. Who wants that heaviness? It may sound fancy, but just pure mental oppression, mental slavery. So the best way to share satsang is from a place of servitude. We are just the pujari of the temple, not even pujari, we are the slipper keeper of the temple. Without that, keep quiet. It may seem like a lot to do, but actually, they're nothing at all. Nothing at all. To love God is not effort. How to be in servitude is to remain open to His guidance, to allow the presence to move this world first, and then to be open to following His will. It's the simplest way to live. the mission that he sets you on may not be the easiest, but it's simplest, because what is making life complicated for us? Everything. Primarily decision making. That makes it complicated. Right? That's what makes it so complex. But it's simple. Which way will you go? Wherever God tells me to go or takes me. What are you going to do next? Whatever God chooses. This afternoon, evening, I had a plan that I'm going to sleep. I'm going to sleep. I hadn't even changed my clothes, nothing. Just then, but my heart said something else. I just did that instead. I'm very glad I did. Isn't it? So don't fear this unpredictability. Enjoy it, no? You want to know every scene of the movie coming after this? No. You want to plan it? You got the world's best director. better than Tarkovsky, better than all these people. You got the world's best director directing this movie every frame. Now, but it's a game where it's a movie where you can make it like you can make it that I want to meddle with it. Can you fix this scene a bit? Can you? Would you want to do that? And would you want to know? Oh, now next scene, next scene. Then why do you go to astrologers and tarot card readers and things like that? There's fear, no? There's fear. What's going to happen in the next scene? What's going to happen? You're just truly watching the movie. You don't want to know. In fact, you'll say, don't give me spoilers. You tell the astrologer, no spoilers. Why have you come?
Is it, would you say that in such a person's life, then planning falls off the...
In a way, in the sense that, let's look at what we mean by planning. So the oppressiveness of a calendar falls away, let's put it that way. What may happen is someone may call you and you say, hey, we haven't met for a long time. They're saying, I'm coming to Bangalore next week. So then you say, okay, let's have lunch then when you're here. So when should we do it? Say Tuesday afternoon, let's have lunch. So you put that into your calendar. So would you call that like planning or just how it just moves? So these things are not like some, I think before you came, no, I used to say, never fall into that spontaneous living trap. No? Because many can fall into that, like I have no plan, I just live spontaneously. And so when I hear it, the first thing that comes to me is that is your new plan. Your new plan is to live spontaneously. So you not drop planning, you just have a new plan.
We can still continue to plan as in what the moment brings to us.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. That's okay.
So if we go by God's will, which is what is one way of looking at it is fine, completely surrender and just go with the flow. Okay, one of the way. In that case, there cannot be any planning. I mean, this is my understanding. I'm not sure, but so you just go with the flow, whatever the moment brings, and you respond to that. And when you said plan,
God's will is whatever the moment brings, and go with that.
No, just go with the flow. of that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking.
So, Hanuman was told by Ram to go to that particular place and to just get that booty, Sanjeevani booty, that medication he needed to revive his brother Lakshman. It is like it's only some 5,000 miles away or something, 500, whatever. So, would you, if you were Hanuman in that situation, would it sound like you're just going with the flow?
In that moment, yes.
That it could. I mean, it's great. So, Abraham was told by God that your son Isaac that you got with great difficulty, and you were like super old now, you and your wife, they were like 90s or something. You must go and sacrifice him on the mountain. That was the will of God. Would you call that going with the flow? So that is, it is not always to just, so because I'm just trying to eradicate the idea of just being like,
How do we decide?
If it is from God, you must follow always.
How do we know?
It is not always easy. It is not always easy. It is simple but not easy. Simple because the complexity is gone, but the task may be difficult. You see, and Moses was there, take all your brothers and start a new nation. Fighting huge armies of Egyptians and all of this stuff. It's not easy. So how do you know it is God's will? First is as you start to live open and empty. As you start to live open and empty, you will notice that the presence moving everything becomes apparent to you. You can call that aspect of it, like going with the flow. Yes, it moves you. Yeah? But you must not make a boundary around that it must seem easy and playful and all of that. Whatever. Sometimes it prods you to go into or moves you to go into more difficult situations. So don't. There's a sort of tilting in the idea of going with the flow, which is like taking the path of least resistance. So I want us to just be careful of that connotation, that if I'm following God, what is the most easiest thing for me to do, the least stressful way to move? No, God will put you in situations where you don't want to be. So you're getting what I'm saying. It's not to follow God's will is very simple, but not always the easiest way out. It's not an escapism. Because the mind would love that. No? Like almost like a Caribbean living. It sounds like a Caribbean living. Okay. And you're truly being sensitive to your heart. Sometimes it gets you to speak the most choppy things. No? So to be sensitive to its moving is the first way. The other way is that you will be nudged or directed by a voice, by some imagery which you recognize not to be from your mind, but from your heart, from the intuitive center where you recognize your truth as awareness. And that also you must follow. But for now, initially this was the first. Sometimes what can happen is that what's a good metaphor? So it's to use Bhagwan metaphor. If you see a bird which is flapping one wing vigorously and the other one is just like underused, then sometimes the prodding will come in that direction. which we don't like, because I see some of you when I speak about the inside part, then you wake up and you're like, but mostly what happens then, it's very nice and I'm happy you're paying attention, but as long as you're just not confirming your own beliefs and it's not confirmation bias, like, and you love it, no, to say, Father, I was thinking same thing today. You also said. That must be the least important, no, because that you already contemplated, it's done. So that should actually be the least important, but we love that. Because of what? We like that approval, we like that confirmation. It's all that. But notice the tendency like that. Then, if you don't like following God's will as a topic, like that, it's just like, but we are sorted with the inside thing. Now, what is this servitude stuff? I wish Father had never, come across Christianity only. There's something. We were so good at just Advaita Vedanta. What is this stuff? And some who don't like the inside inquiry, who am I, can't do. Then they wake up when we talk of love and servitude and faith. This I can relate to, But imagine that both the rings are flattening. And then life becomes so rich with God. So many beautiful streams of meeting God. So sometimes you put on a kirtan, and sometimes you put on a bhajan, and sometimes you put on some Sufi music, and sometimes you put on song, pointing to this one. His presence is within your heart. To never become, sorry my dear, just finished, never become small-minded about God. Never presume your way is the best. Never think that you got it figured out. Yourself open. Life teaches us so well. Yourself open.
Father, I always see you in constant gratitude, right, towards God or even Guruji. So is it that part of your servitude or love or insight? Like, you haven't mentioned gratitude separately, but I always see you in that mode, Father.
You could add. You could add. It's very beautiful.
That's an outcome of your love or servitude, or
We can add it. We can just say as part of servitude, gratitude is there.
you're always there.
Right? So what happens is these systems that sometimes we end up creating, like a few weeks back we were saying way of the heart, then we say something else, and so the systems are just like broad roadmaps, but everything is not sketched in because they just give you a sense of the way. The way really cannot be codified so much. Yeah, the way, and that's why a master is important, because a beautiful song, no? हमें रास्तों की जरूरत नहीं है, हमें तेरे पैरों के निशान मिल गए हैं. We don't need path anymore because I've got your footprints I can follow. So, because it's really not possible to fully codify, fully templatize. Just gives us some sense of the overall project. But gratitude is a very beautiful one. Some kids are also the opposite. Like father के पैरों के निशान वहाँ हैं तो हम तो दूसरा ही जाएंगे. Which is like that way is already taken by father, so I will make my own. A lot of the boys especially have that. Sorry if it's a generalization, but yeah, I've seen with the boys a lot more that thing that, oh no, father's already going that way. I think, oh, like I can combine a bit like that. It's natural, no? It's like saying, what is that story? Apparently one of them, who was it? Napoleon or Alexander? Alexander, I think. Alexander was waiting for his father to die because he was scared that his father will capture the whole world. So there will be nothing for him to do. This can happen, that we want to carve our own path.
So I think I want to share something. When I'm able to, I think I've taken a stand that I'll only pick one thing from you, which is one thought at a time. I'm going to drop it. And I've been practicing this. And when there are times where thoughts are coming and I'm able to just swipe it, just keep going, right? And then
Swiping left or right?
left, just moving, like photos. Photos.
Don't feel I don't know all this stuff. I have 2 teenage kids. My son is an adult.
So like a picture, just moving, right? Like a train goes, right? So in between, right, there is a pause, like a gap. And I just want to say that I've taken this stand very serious, and I'm only on that. Now when you're
letting go one thought at a time.
Yeah, like not saying it, right? Like what I'm saying is that there are moments where it's a pause. You're there.
Stay with us. Yeah.
You're still there. You're still there. Let's close down. Oh, the words are not coming. It's going deep. And your body is here. Breath is. Now, in this space, anything like the satsang analogies, anything, right? Or even work, or anything to do with satsang, is not happening. It's not happening, or rather, like God as a thought. I'm just there. So when you said flapping, right, I'm going back to that part. So
let's,
I've not come out of this.
Yeah, stay like that. So is your hearing now amplified or reduced?
The thoughts will come back.
So once you just go back to that, you'll notice that your whole system is so much more sensitive. Like the sounds of the AC, the sounds of traffic outside, everything will be heard. Nothing is oppressing you. You're not labeling any of that. You're not saying traffic. You're not distinguishing between the sweet sound of a bird and a car, honking its horn. Neither of those are affecting you. But that is the way you can just hear satsang effortlessly. So it doesn't get in the way. In fact, where it is coming from is, where satsang words are coming from is that very source. So don't allow your mind to trick you and say, no, but actually now that I'm doing this, I'm not hearing anything else. You're hearing just fine. Don't worry.
No, when you gave me that flapping example, I
Jnana
could
and
feel that, not during satsang, but rest of the times, right? Like, for example, I used to meditate a lot. Now I'm like reducing it, but I'm in this space, work is happening. And I've taken the experiment of during work, especially, like working from the space. And if I don't want to write an email, I just don't write. So, but the God, or I had certain notion like I have to meditate or I have to do certain things. Even here, right? I've seen a lot of people doing a lot of things, right? Now, it's not coming naturally to me from that space. So now going back to the flapping part. So I'm just, maybe I'm getting some insight that I'm smartly avoiding other things by fooling myself that I'm here, so I don't need to do this or do that.
It's subtle, very good. So, as you remain open and empty, all the words will be heard much better because you're not meeting it with diffused attention. Usually, how do we lead our life? Half the time, our attention is the mental commentary, the other half, we're perceiving some blurry world around us. Before I came to this, I felt like I only experienced a blurry world. It never experienced the vibrancy of it because half the time I was just thinking, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in various ways. So, but once your attention is fully present with the content of your experience, it's fully magnified. So, unless you're actively resisting, saying,
I'm not doing it.
Then you're fine. You don't have to worry. And because specifically I've guided you to follow that one particular aspect because of your thing, so it's fine. It's fine for now.
For example, the other day Ganesha was happening.
Yeah, but one more thing is that in this way you can never come into the neglect of God. Maybe you're coming into the neglect of a notion of God that you had.
Yes.
And now that you're dropping concepts, even the concept that you're attached to the word God is dropping. But this is the only way to truly meet God.
So the other day Ganesha was happening, and I
hope you heard my answer also.
Yeah, I wanted to confirm with this example.
Holding that question alive.
So I didn't do anything. I didn't celebrate, or I didn't do any ritual or form. So it was like, this is an example where am I consciously like avoiding this because I'm here.
That only you can tell, because here also what happened is for a few years after this, my parents would call me to read the Diwali ka puja and all of that, and I would do it for them because I would do it like I was much more comfortable reading the katha in Hindi than they were at that age reading and things like that. So I would do it. But after a few years, they also realized my inclination is not so much to get into all of that. So they also stopped calling and stopped doing it. So we don't know what is going to get dropped, what is going to get picked up. We've seen so many phases that happen here also. Sometimes I'm just like, every satsang, Hanuman Chalisa, start. Then it's just like, every satsang, something happens. How God moves us. So as long as we are truly being empty and in service to Him, it's all fine.
Did you say that in that state, the concept, you're only your concepts of God?
Yeah, I got you also to do that, no? Because sometimes we can have a concept or some visualization or some ideas. Sometimes good to just blank slate from there.
Another, I observed this recently. I'm sleeping, and a lot of I don't know whether it's a thought, but I'm in a dream, and I'm seeing a dream. Now you're waking up. It's just here 1 second earlier you're in a
Different words.
full movie, like a 3D movie. It's running. The next minute that stops, and the first few seconds or the few moments, use the word the awareness. Awareness is always there, but I'm using this word for any other. I don't have any other word to use.
Why not beingness?
Beingness, yeah. So I'm in the beingness. The first few thoughts, I'm not able to observe. So when you said that don't wake up till you find God, right? So in the morning, either
It's more like don't get out of your bed.
yeah.
Till you.
Yeah, that's the thing. And yeah. So the first thing comes to my, I picked it up and I slow down. Okay. But the train is coming like, it's a super fast goods train. Boom,
Good.
it's going.
Faster it'll go.
But it's having you're not.
You have interest in it?
I'm sorry?
You have interest in its rambling?
You don't even know, it's just coming so quick. But that moment,
Sooner the better.
it's like, how do I say? Here and then
No,
here.
no, which way? How is it coming like this? It should be coming like that.
It's going.
Yeah.
So, and that time there is like, in the system, there's a.
Is it just because of some conditioned habit?
I don't know. I'm sharing this.
Maybe something is related that with some sort of anxiousness.
Most of the times there is no problem.
Most?
No problem. Most of the times. There is no problem in the sense like.
Most of the time there is no problem.
Yeah, when you're
What
going.
about the other time?
Sometimes you have an imaginative problem. Right?
So that imaginative is not real.
Yeah. So when I check, is there a problem there? Is he have a problem? Nothing is there, but still this tremor. Like when especially in the mornings. Earlier it used to be more. Now it is. I'm at least seeing it.
It tries. What you identified actually we have not spoken about for a long time, but this used to be a very common question. The mind uses the first opportunity to try and win the day.
Yes.
No? So it starts off in the day. We had some children in the Sangha who would say that morning time, the first thing I wake up, it just the biggest fear from 5 years back, something.
Yes.
It just tries to, basically, I've told you, the war is for time. You see? So it says, this is my chance. Because if he remembers God now after this, day is gone. So it's saying today is going to be my day. So it's going to try everything that it has. Very natural. First thing in the morning it will try.
So I would just wanted to comment that I think now it's starting to feel like this God consciousness is the one that's experiencing itself and also experiencing the sensations of the body. Meaning earlier, I used to be like, I'm sitting here and I'm feeling presence, right? But now it's clear it's not the case. Actually, the presence is feeling the body. Yeah. So it's feeling like, okay, the presence is feeling the body or whatever the sensations, and then it, the mind may call it the body. And then, the fact that it's so universal and boundaryless is itself knowing itself. So there's a lot of peace, because it's like everything is, it just feels like everything else is an etching on the only one that's got life, because it's the only thing we can know that's, it's, unlike a thought which is, doesn't have any energy. It has the beautiful light, like it's filled with light, right? So it's just like there's light, and then there's everything else is sort of like an etching on the one that's real. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Beautiful.